Tell me a little bit about you and kind of how you got interested in helping people.
Wow. Yeah. $1 million question. Yeah. I mean, I was always introverted growing up. And so studying people was a natural part of who I was, and psychology is a natural fit for that. And then, your mess becomes your message. So a lot of relationship pain early on in my life kind of led to solving my own issues and then wanting to help others in the process. So,
Okay, so you kind of wanted to pay it forward.
yeah, your mess becomes your message, right? As I said. So it's like, yeah, I want to, I felt the pain that would happen with, not knowing why you do the things you do and kind of these subconscious patterns and healing those emotional wounds. And a lot of people, my family and friends, like dealt with a lot of issues like that growing up. So I was a natural healer. And that kind of just led to my profession.
Like, were you doing Zoom calls prior to the pandemic, or were you only meeting with people in person?
A mixture of both before the pandemic. And now it's fully switched online since. So yeah.
How has that been making that adjustment, especially for people who you're used to meeting up with in person in San Diego?
Consistent studies show, because there are like online talk therapy platforms like BetterHelp and Talkspace, but
Mhm.
studies, they show that it's not much of a difference. But I do prefer in person because I don't know, there's just like a different vibe or energy when you are talking with someone when they're in the same physical space as you. So I prefer in person.
So, talk to me a little bit about what you've been seeing since the pandemic started. I know that you talked to me about the moving target theory. And
Depression can't hit a moving target. Not my original quote, but I think it's so true, especially in our Western culture, right? We're kind of taught that, the quality of life is determined by what we can do. Like we're human doings, not human beings. And so when we're forced to stay at home, like we have a lot of idle minds, right? And a lot of our problems come to the surface during times like this.
so, talk to me a little bit about what you've been seeing. What kind of, new things have you been hearing from clients over the past 3 months?
I would say, a lot of isolation is producing amplification, right? So a lot of the problems like depression or anxiety, it gets amplified when we're sitting alone at home because their mind starts to, that pattern or that narrative that's going in their mind, it starts to become more prevalent as the isolation increases. They can't distract themselves as much. So, yeah.
So, is it a lot of people that you were seeing prior to the pandemic, or have you had new people call you or email you and be like, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you"?
Yeah, it's surprising or not, I've had a couple old clients reach out to me and some new ones ever since this pandemic has increased. People are, reaching out for help more and more with what they're going through. So definitely an increase.
Is there a certain age group that you feel like you mainly work with, or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. My specialty is working with actually men between the ages of 25 to 35, so around my age range. Um, yeah. So specifically, they deal with kind of dating and relationship issues and confidence issues mainly.
Do you think social media right now is making people feel more connected because it's a safe way to still keep in contact with people and it's a lot faster than a telegraph? Or do you think it's almost making people feel more isolated when people are posting pictures of them isolating in their beach house and they're, in their studio apartment by themselves?
Yeah, you can see two sides of this coin. I see that it is making it worse, and I'm just looking at the statistics with like the amount of depression that's increased, and I mean just the amount of, obviously in my scope of understanding my sample size, it's causing more isolation, and these apps are kind of creating like a pseudo need. It's not really like there's something different between swipe texting someone and then actually having that exchange with them in person, actually like connecting with them on that level. I think, the need of connection, the human need of connection can only truly be met in person. And that's just my opinion, but I find it to be true and it kind of correlates with what's been happening. So,
Do you have plans for patients for if there's a second wave and we have to go into an even further level of quarantine?
there are groups of people out there in terms of, online groups that I do a men's group myself personally, and a lot of guys are looking for that connection. So there are like different online groups out there to connect to. And I know you can meet up with like at least one person, right? If they're both safe, right? And so like trying to make it a priority to at least call someone, I mean, before quarantine, this should have been a daily habit as anyways for people to like
Yeah.
call a friend or call a family member that we don't usually do. But like now is a perfect opportunity for you to recognize how important this is in your daily life. Because when you look back at it, I mean, people in their deathbeds, they never regret that they did more work. They regret having not spent more time with the ones they love. And so you can
Absolutely.
use this time, leverage it to make it a daily habit to connect with people that when we can go back out there, it's like you've developed that. And I guarantee you'll be much happier. So.
It sounds like the words of wisdom that you would give to people who are maybe struggling right now with anxiety or depression or what have you are A, make a point to call a loved one at least once a day.
Yes.
B, get outside if at all possible. Are there any other tips that you have?
Yeah. So we talked about in the beginning how depression can't hit moving target. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of my favorite philosophers I like, he said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And so when you fill up your day, even if it's like people wake up in the morning, like get dressed, even if you're not going anywhere, get dressed, like work, make sure you work out, like say, all right, this hour I'm going to read a book. This hour I'm going to learn a new skill. Like use this alone time to develop other areas of your life that you've neglected. Pick up a new book that you're interested in, pick up a new hobby instead of binging Netflix, right? This is an opportunity for you to develop your personality and yourself in many ways that you haven't had before.